Hello and welcome to Rise and Shine with Alissa and my sparkly new mug. I am so grateful to be here as your hostess, the consultress, bringing you awesome conversations with amazing entrepreneurs from around the globe. We are now living in an age of disruption where everything is disruptible and nothing's going back to the way it was, ladies and gents. We have to innovate, and being an innovator is a superpower. I'm so blessed to be surrounded by so many amazing entrepreneurs that are doing just that. So, Angie, welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Hey, thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show today. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hell yes. So we met through LinkedIn and we got to bring that conversation into the virtual real life space where you are moving and shaking in a lot of the same circles that I'm swimming in, like badass real estate advisor and networker, connector. So tell me a little bit about how your passion shows up in your life and work.
Yeah, so just a tiny bit to give you a little bit of context. So, I am a high maintenance country girl, and I'm full of like I'm like the mullet of people, it's like, party in the back and business in the front, and I've got all these like layers because we're complex creatures, right? And like if we all would just take a little deeper dive into ourselves, we would realize that we're all these complex creatures. And I believe that rules are only suggestions. So, especially when it comes to speed limits, they're just suggestions. And
Oh, fellow Leadfoot. Got it.
and I have unfortunately the tickets to prove it, but it's like, hey, if you're going to do the crime, you got to do the time. So I'll gladly pay. But but where my passion really comes is in I'm so sick of there is no box that I can check that is Angie Giltner. There's no box for that. And I hate getting shoved into a box. I hate labels and all the different things. It just makes me absolutely crazy. So I try to find, I call them these like sod sack moments where somebody ought to do something about that. And if you look at the acronym of that, it's a sod sat moment, right? Somebody ought to do something about that. And so I've decided that God gave me a big mouth and I'm going to use it for good. And I'm going to trailblaze the way for women to be like, no, don't put me in a box. Don't make me check that box. I want to, and just one example of that can look like instead of like breaking the glass ceiling, oh, that's so 1980. I'm sick of it. Let's start standing on the glass ceiling. That's where we start because up above that is limitlessness. And that's where we all belong.
I couldn't agree with you more. I don't feel like somebody said to me, like, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And one of my wise mentors once upon a time was like, get out of the tunnel. You don't need to live there. So, I love this concept of limitlessness because what I find in entrepreneurship is that we do just that. We kind of go and approach some kind of limit, some kind of boundary, and usually that's where all the problems are, right? It's where all our resistance shows up and it's like, don't do it, it's not safe, or like you're gonna die if you do this. Also, probably not true because these things that our mind is tricking us is to staying safe, to staying stuck, to staying, exactly where we are, which is not the plight of the entrepreneur nor the investor mindset, specifically not parents, because oh my God, if we were to continue on that trajectory where we only stayed where we only ever experienced so far, that listen, parenting is one of those things that puts entrepreneurship to shame, in my opinion. But anyway, these are all opportunities for growth. Seeing that edge, seeing that limit, it isn't a stop sign. It's actually like one of those checkered flags going, here's where the race starts. So,
Yeah.
where have you found mastery when it comes to approaching and blowing past those limits?
Well, and it's first of all, it's, just the belief that I can do it, because it has to start in the mind. Our mind gets so stuck on things and it can keep us held hostage, right? And so just the belief that it's like, who says? Who's they? They say we're supposed to do this. Well, who's they? You know, please introduce me to they, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and so, um, and then my other big piece of this is I like to look at things with a discerning eye. So whenever I see something that just doesn't feel right to me, I'm like, prove it, prove it. You say this is the way to get from point A to point B. Well, prove that it's the only way. Prove it. And then whenever you start pushing back and challenging people, they're like, oh, well, it's what works for me and works for a million other people. Okay, well, there's a bazillion people in the world. So that means there's other ways to get there, right? And so I just have opened my mind up, and I guess I can thank my dad for this because I was born with a congenital Achilles tendon issue that left me with some mobility issues from the time I was born. And I've had to learn how to walk again twice as an adult and just a whole bunch of different things. And my dad would say to me, you're Angie Gosser. That was my maiden name. You're going to let that stop you? And I'd be like, no. And he'd be like, figure it out, find a way, you know? And he was like, just because you're not going to do it like your peer doesn't mean it's the wrong way to do it. And so he just instilled that in me from a very young age. He was like, like I can't stand on my tiptoes. And he'd say, but what can you do? Don't focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can do, figure it out. And so I guess I've just raised my whole life to just kind of be limitless. It's like, okay, I do have this congenital problem that does stifle some normal mobility, but there's a ton of things that I can do. And I've just had to figure it out, move beyond my own mind and not stay stuck in that and say, okay, well, yeah, I can't stand on my tiptoes, but here's what I can do.
Yeah, right on. So when you say, like, I have to figure it out, specifically when it comes to like your business and what you get to do to create value in this world, share with us a little bit about that value and what you're kind of moving and shaking and doing in the world. But then also, like, where do you find yourself not standing on your tiptoes, but having figured it out in a different way? I'd love to hear like a case study of that innovation.
Yeah. So one of the big things is this notion of out sales, because sales is a big sticky topic, and a lot of people have a lot of hangups about sales for a myriad of reasons, whether it's their own money blocks or whatever. And I don't look at sales as getting hired. I look at sales as being chosen. And so, and then it's up to me, like they've chose to come on a discovery call with me, but then it's up to me if I want to work with that person. It's not about ego at all. It's not about that at all. It has to be a right fit for both of us, not just one of us. And
Okay.
so whenever I'm talking with, like, I have one of my clients who really got hung up on the word, she because she's a financial advisor, and so she works for a conglomerate, and they kind of dictate a lot of what she can and can't do and that type of thing. And so she would talk to her potential clients about fees. Well, fees is a repelling word. It's like, oh, it's going to cost me money to work with you. Well, of course it is, right? Like, we all can't be in business to do things for free. So it's like, let's talk about flip the language. This is what it costs to work with me. And a switch from a cost to a fee became much more less confrontational, much more accepting. And now she doesn't find herself having to justify the cost of working with me. And so with a fee, it's like that's you getting hired. It's like,
Mm.
well, if they agree to the fee, then you get hired. But they accept the cost, then you are chosen, and then you've decided it's a mutually beneficial relationship and you can choose to work together. for the common goal of, whatever the client's goal is. So, it's a lot about that mentality of what that looks like. And sometimes it's just the shift in this case, just one word.
I love that, changing the words you use actually changes the concept, because when you think about how, your feelings become your thoughts become your words become your actions, and your actions become your character. It starts in a very nebulous space of feeling when you're trying to communicate and connect with other people. So having language that puts that feeling into something that can be expressed is, that's an art form in and of itself. You ever feel connected with somebody and then be at a loss for words? Because words are limited by nature. So when you have, I always talk about, when you have a connection with somebody, when you feel that alignment or that, what's the word, affinity, follow the
Mhm.
affinity, follow that feeling, because whether or not they are your ideal client or your strategic partner, or, something that can be advantageous to you in your business universe, you need to first find the feeling, then those other things. Because when you try to just go for those other things, you end up kissing a whole lot of frogs, ribbit, yuck, and like, you know, to find out what works and what works quicker, getting very specific about your language is important, and getting very specific about how you approach the connection. I loved what you said about, having it be a right fit versus trying to make it work because it's an opportunity you can't pass up. Like, all opportunities can be passed up if they're the wrong ones. Because what happens
Yes.
when you allow somebody to hire you and you feel like you can only be incrementally of service to them? I mean, we've all done it. We've said, you know what, money's money. Let's take on this client. They said, I said, we said we can help each other, but there's something going on back here in your brain going, I'm not sure, or maybe this isn't the right one. And that takes a lot of exposure and experience to continue to go through and kind of have those, wisdom is earned, knowledge is free. So you might know something, but to experience it and then see how it fits, you have to try that stuff on to see what works for you. So I love that concept of being the right fit and being able to offer yourself to someone in your services before saying, like, anybody who comes along that can afford what I have, obviously I'll make an offer to. Like, not always the case. Have you found
No.
in your business too?
Oh, yeah. Yes. And where I found I can even provide value, even if it's not a right fit, is to get them in front of someone who is a better fit. And that's why it's important to have a robust network, because I have said no. I don't even, oh my gosh, I've been in business 12 years. I don't even know how many times I've said no. But what I've done to provide value and to still be of service is to say, no, but here are a couple of other people who are probably going to serve you better. And I've had coaches even tell me, oh, you're letting money walk out the door. And I'm like, um, no, I am being of service to them because I am not the best fit for them. I would rather pass them along. And if it gives the opportunity to bless another coach in their business, then it's I'm still winning, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, one of my clients said, it's that climactic overthrow of, like, the collective competition where everybody's competing for the same business. We're in the era of identity and transparency marketing, where we're shifting into this collective collaboration. And so that right fit is even more important. It's even more humane. My God, especially with all this AI stuff going around, your connection and who you are and the wisdom that you've garnered along your journey is valuable to a specific subset of people. And, if we all sold widgets, that would be a very different story. But the fact is, like, your transformation is different than my transformation, and how to see that collaboratively because we can all help each other. We're all after the same goal. You know how many people are in my community that are like, I provide transformation so people can get exponential results. Yeah, it's what everybody needs right now.
You're right.
Of course. Yes, I'm for
Yes.
it.
Right.
So, but if I were to see that as competition, I'd be like, "Oh my God, you can't be anywhere near me. Don't come to the circles that I don't meet the people that I know." And that is like it's a byproduct of the industrial age mindset that we're trying to transcend right now as a collective.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I guess I just don't view competition like, because I have a different kind of philosophy, I have a different kind of mindset. And I know that I'm the right fit for many, many women out there in the world. And but I also know that I'm not the right fit for many, many women in the world. There are women who like to play it safe, who like to play small. That's if that's what the space that you sit in, that's fine. I've got 5 other coaches I can introduce you to. But if you're a woman who is like, I want to be limitless, I want to get hired, I want to make a massive impact in the world and increase my influence so I can increase my income, then you're the better fit for me. And it's just knowing those things about yourself and the types of clients that bring you joy and light you up. And because no one wants to work with clients that kind of suck the life out of you. Ew,
Yeah, no, okay, so, like, to that point, we don't choose those on purpose most of the time.
most
We
of the
usually
time.
go in with this, like, "Yeah, this is cool, this is gonna be great," and as things roll along, as most businesses, when we bring ourselves to this point where our business is growing and we're doing more, we're reaching out to more people, we're attracting new and different clients, at some point, that expansion, that exploration, that growth will become top heavy. That 80% of what you do that only brings you the 20% of your results it's going to get top heavy. So having a systematic approach to saying like, okay, I have to review what's up and I look inside your book of business. Don't be afraid to look in and say, here's my favorite people. Here are the people that get the best results with me. Where those two interact. Yay. A, clients. Awesome. Where they are one or the other. B, maybe I'll see you soon. And then C is not in either one of these areas. And that is like, I got to say, see you later. You're not
Right.
bringing me joy. You have to be able to move on from people when there's not a fit because when your business is beholden to people who consistently need your time and energy that you're no longer the right fit for, because guess what? As our business evolves, who else evolves?
Yeah,
We
oh, yeah.
yeah, 100%. And so we become someone different in the process of expansion and the process of growth. And then we have to also have a process for pruning. Like, hello, do you have any
Yeah.
time? Like, you got to pull the dead stuff off that every once in a while. And so it's the same thing in business. Like, this is one of the like primary pieces of like business IP that I've developed, and that's how to prune it. How do you go
Mm,
about looking at what strategies you might be in love with that you don't belong deploying anymore? Where are the things that you're measuring that really don't matter anymore? And being able to be honest about that because oftentimes we're so busy doing that we don't take the time to look back and say, what got me here will keep me here.
yes.
Don't wanna stay here, I wanna continue to grow. If like and
Yes.
like that's where you and I find affinities. Like if you're on the growth path and you're looking to continue to take those risks and move forward, like we're your girls, but for
Right.
different reasons.
Yes. Yes. I tell myself this, I don't know how many times a week I will say, what got me here won't get me there. And so, I have to continually grow and challenge and stretch myself. So, as a coach, I always have a coach because I need someone to stretch me, to challenge me, to go, sometimes I need them to kick me in the booty because it's like your thinking is seriously flawed here. Let's change the narrative because, it happens. And but I also think it has made me a better coach in the long run because I am teachable, I'm coachable, I want to learn so that then I can in turn impart that new wisdom on my clients. And so it's I always look for I not I shouldn't say always because most of the time I always try to find the win-win-win, where it's just mutually beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, and that's the goal, right? Entrepreneurship saves the world. You've heard me say it here a million times, everybody. We're solving emergent problems. that are going to need new solutions because the solutions that are already in existence are not addressing the problems we're seeing now. Like this
Right.
new way of looking at things. So you constantly have to be vigilant to looking at ways that, it's going to serve you, it's going to serve your client, and it's going to serve your community.
Yeah.
Consult, client, and community all need to be lined up. Otherwise, they're competing for your resources. And so, um, like you said about wanting to make an impact and earn bigger income, are there specific industries that you really love to help people build their business through?
So I love my most favorite client in the whole entire world is the woman who is like is a coach, but doesn't really fit into any, you know, there's a business coach box, but I don't really fit in the business coach box. There's a life coach box, but I don't really fit in the life coach box. They're women who are like outside on the fringes, and like coaches who have very unique and very specific problems that they are solving that they heard somebody ought to do something about that and said that can be me based on my experiences, my education, my talents, my love, what my passion, whatever. And so, but because they don't fit in any of those boxes, it makes it hard for them to break through until they know, some real specific things, because there's lots of free information out there, but it's all cookie cutter approaches. And they say, just do this one thing and you'll make $1 million in 5 minutes. And it's like, prove it.
Yeah, prove it.
Prove it. Like, if that was truly the case, then why aren't we all sitting in that space? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
and so I'm a big challenger. Like, I love that you're all about disruption, because my 2025 word is disruption. And I'm sure you get this. I get DMs all the time, work with me, work with me, work with me, and they make these grandiose claims, and all I respond back is, prove it. And it is interesting how I never get a follow up. And it's like, oh, you were willing to take my money, someone who I've never met before. But the moment that I challenged you and said, prove it, now it's a ghost. Well, that tells me all
Mhm.
along you can't deliver on what you promise. And so, anyhow,
Yeah, I love that. And you know what? I'm going to take that home. Those DMs, man, they can be quite aggressive in terms of being sold to.
yes,
Prove it. I love
prove
this.
it.
I love
And
it.
I mean, I think it's a fair statement. It's like, look, you're cold DMing me. We have never met before. I don't know you from anyone. And you want to take my hard earned money. So I'm just asking you to prove it. Now if someone says to me, prove it, got you. I will, yes, because I will prove it,
Right.
because I
Yeah,
have
talk
to
to my
stand.
clients. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to stand behind that. It's like, I just have to. Well, my integrity won't let me do it otherwise. But
Well, and that's the thing here. Like when you feel the affinity and you are hiring somebody for their wisdom, you have to that feeling of integrity is part of the mix. Is knowing that they're practicing what they preach. Like you said, like always having somebody who's expanding you. If you're in the business of helping other people expand, you may be expanding in a different way, in a different area, but being coachable or being willing to be a never ending improvement work in progress, that's what it takes to be able to allow yourself to provide that space for other people and to say, I'm walking this walk, I'm talking this talk, and I'm walking it.
right,
And that to me, it's more valuable than anything else you can find. Bells and whistles. Let me buy your online course, your solutions. Like maybe, maybe, but I went directly to a year and a half ago. I went directly to the head of the organization that trained me over a decade ago. And I said, what do you have? I want to talk to you. And she said, well, I have this audience building thing and I have this, group, whatever, seasonal. I'm like, no, cut through the noise. I want you to tell me, based on your expertise in the $1 billion business you built, what can apply to me where I am today? Show me what I need to know and cut all the other crap out. Because, yeah, all this information is available. You can find any information anywhere. Knowledge is free. The wisdom to know where something fits and how to operate it and where to put it and how to deploy it into your business and your systems of life,
Yep.
that takes skill. That's what wisdom's about. So, like, again, I love what you're saying. Like, I don't go hire the cookie cutter stuff. I totally resonate with that because that's what I look for when I look for mentors for myself. And that's
Yeah.
what I stand for when people hire me. I'm
Yeah.
not for everybody. In fact, I have to actually like you and I have
Yeah.
to like your story and I have to know that you're going to be willing to have me push your buttons a little bit and to challenge some of those darlings and those sacred thought patterns or those projects that you might be attached to that aren't getting you results. If I can't stand for that, then don't hire me.
Right.
Like, that's what you should also be looking for out there when you're looking to hire a coach for yourself. Someone who can know where you're looking to go, who's already been there, who can shorten your learning curve, because that's more valuable than
Oh,
spending decades of time trying to figure it out on your own. And that's what where DIY I think falls down a bunch.
yes. Oh, 100%. Yep. Yep. And, I mean, there's some great knowledge out there. It's not all bad, but we are not cookie cutter humans. And so some of those programs will work for some of the people, and that's fine. And that's fine. There's a space for that. But most of the time, if we peel back the layers, and start to get really curious and open our minds up, it's like we really like I say this all the time. I don't know what I don't know. So I've got to surround myself with people who do know, who I can learn from, who challenge my thinking and say, "Oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that before." I mean, we talk, like reaching like self actualization or enlightenment or whatever, however you want to say it. But that's where it's happening. When you can just really open your mind and be like, oh, you know, I, I would have never thought about it like that before. Now that makes me question a few things about my own thinking. That's beautiful. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And so often we are afraid because we're conditioned not to question our own assumptions because we already know that. I already know what I know. Do you though?
You know.
Because the more you know, the more you can ask questions and look at things from a different perspective and go, that's not the way I thought it was. My husband always says, it's easier to trick a person than to convince a person they have been tricked. And that's
Mm,
where the courage comes in and all of this growth is we have to be willing to look at the stuff we think we know and give ourselves new information and reassess
yeah.
our own growth, our own knowledge, our own because that's where wisdom actually is grown. So like Angie, I'm so grateful that we are connected. We are birds of a feather. I fucking
Oh,
love having conversations with you. And I'm
likewise.
sure that all the entrepreneurs who are watching this are like, hell yes, high-fiving their cameras right now.
Yay.
So where can people find you?
The best way to find me is on LinkedIn. Angie Giltner, you can't miss me. Look for my purple hair. Yeah, that's the best way to find me. And yes, I am so glad that we are connected and I can call you my friend.
Yes. Right on. So you heard her here. Rise and shine. Make sure you know who you're working with and that they are worth investing in because they're willing to help you challenge what you think you know. And there's so many golden nuggets in here. I'm gonna clip this up and make some reels and stuff so we can all like get the short form nuggets and the long form because you're worth this conversation. When you're hiring somebody, you have to be willing to have this kind of conversation that helps where are you now? Who are you? And what are you looking to do with it? And Angie, like your skills are apparent to me. Like game recognizes game. And I'm so grateful. So everybody rise and shine. We are so grateful you're here. Let us know what you found very useful in the comments. And we will see you every Monday. We broadcast 7:30 a.m. Don't miss another episode. We will see you next time, friends. Same bat time, same bat channel. Adios. Cheers.